And welcome into another episode of Tiger Territory, part of the Foul Territory Network, the Detroit Tigers podcast. I'm Kieran Steckley. With me, as always, is a man who cannot wait to find out about the life of a showgirl. He's again. How you doing?
Hey, doing all right, Kieran. How are we feeling after this series? The Tigers take 2 of 3 from a very bad team. They win the rubber match 1-0, but the bullpen looked good. The pitching was good. There were some things to like. The game before that was pretty brutal and miserable to watch. You take 2 of 3, right? So maybe we should be happier than the vibe on the internet would lead you to believe.
So, look, I think there's a lot of validated opinions that are on the internet now. I do think sometimes the perspective is a little bit off, but that's okay. That's why we love this game. I think I've come down on this. I'm glad you asked me this question to start out. The phrase "we've earned the right" or "we haven't earned the right," a classic AJism. I was thinking about this. The Tigers have kind of earned the right this season to kind of slug through a couple of these stretches while getting wins and holding off the Guardians who won't go away. Like, they've earned the right to not play their best baseball in August, with the idea being like, you got to be as right as possible September, October, blah 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 blah. Like, they didn't get here by accident. Like, they got here, they earned it their way into this situation where it, at times looks like the sky is falling down. If they didn't go through that really really rough stretch, they'd be in an even better position than they are now. But we are seeing things kind of correcting their way into something where it's like, okay, I see how this all could come together. They've earned that right. Doesn't mean it's the most delightful stretch of baseball to watch. Doesn't mean it's the most exciting. Doesn't get me all charged. But at the same time, there's not a short amount of time left in the season. It's obviously not a long amount of time left in the season. I feel okay. I think sometimes we overrate just feeling underrate, I should say, just feeling
Yeah,
okay. Sometimes
I
it's okay to just be okay.
think that's a great point. Probably in life, certainly throughout the course of a 162 game season, right now, just stacking wins, keeping the Guardians at bay, that's kind of the goal. And if you can show some signs of improving bigger picture trends along the way, that's good. Now, there were some things to like, there's some things to not like in the White Sox series. But I don't know, you drew 5 walks in the series finale. Well, you'll take that. And then I think the story of the day was Troy Melton, who was supposed to go 2 or 3 innings. He ended up going 5 because he was stellar. Has people asking, should this guy just stay in the rotation? And I think that's kind of an interesting and perhaps more complicated discussion than it would seem on its surface, because it's easy to be like, oh, he's really good. He's been really good in his past 2 starts. He should stay a starter. You could also argue the Tigers' biggest need for him is in the bullpen, a guy with power, stuff, swing and miss. You can use him more often, but less innings. Keep in mind, this guy's never thrown this many innings in his life. If he were to go the rest of the season as a starter, it's possible he could come up on an innings limit and you'd have to shut him down before the postseason. In the pen, it's a little more flexible. So I'm probably in favor of leaving him in a role like this, where he can pitch in a variety of scenarios. If that's leverage relief, great. If that's being an opener and it ends up going 5 because he's so good, that's great too. I think maybe this is the perfect role for Melton, and you shouldn't mess with it just on the idea that, oh, he could go 7 shutout every time, because that's probably not realistic either for a rookie pitcher.
There's a couple questions there. Do I want Melton just in the rotation? Yes, I do. I am in favor of making that a thing. Partially because he's a young player, obviously. I like young players having consistent approaches and situations they go into, right? And so, like, this is something that he hasn't done a whole lot of, and we're asking him to do it at the highest level,
Yeah.
and then also at in variety of situations. In some ways, you could argue, I don't want to say unfair, but not as ideal. because I was thinking about this, and I actually should have looked it up. I just, got a lot of things on my mind. Can't look up every little thing. I was like, if 3 starts, and we'll just do the starts, 3 starts for Troy Melton happened with Jackson Jobe, what would the hype level be? Like we you see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
and Melton's stuff is as impressive at totality as Jackson Jobe. Is that a hot take? I don't know. Maybe.
No, look at Stuff Plus. They're pretty similar. Melton stuff is off the charts right now.
Yeah, so that's what I want. However, I understand that's just not really how they constructed it. And also, if you're AJ, if you're Scott, if you're Federer, you're not necessarily trying to rely on a dude who, just joined the major league team here in a couple of weeks as one of your 5 or even 6 or 3 or 4 in a playoff series. So I understand it. So I do agree with you and disagree with you. What I agree with you is it probably is the best use for the team to have him in that role that you're saying. I think he would probably excel better just going every 5th day. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I that's hard to say too, right? Short outings, short bursts, or going 3 times through the order, which better sets him up for success in his rookie season. I also argue you might be better positioned to get the most out of him if he's more often going 1 or 2 innings.
Perhaps, but
again, if he pitches like he did here on Wednesday, he's going to do okay. You know why he was good? Freaking pounded the zone.
Yes.
First 14 plus batters, first pitch strikes, was in the zone all day. And it's power stuff. This isn't Chris Paddock. This isn't Charlie Morton. This isn't Jack Flaherty. I mean, this is 97, 98, big power breaking ball, throwing the sinker. This is just really good. This is what you want. I have kind of been on record saying I still think his ceiling, probably like 4th starter. Watching out like today, I don't know. I could be more easily talked into at least a little bit higher. I'm not saying he's the next Tarek Skubal or right-handed Tarek Skubal. But I don't know. I think that's a question. Like, what is his ceiling? Don't want to overrate it based on 1 outing. There's a time a young Casey Mize went like 6 1/3 no-hit against the White Sox. So let's keep that in mind. Let's keep the order in mind. But man, Melton does some stuff that's really good.
No, and this is probably inaccurate to say it was 100% of the time, but I never really felt like he got away with anything. Like is kind of how I define that outing. It just felt like everything was purposeful, not perfectly located, but well located. And even the first hit, only hit he gave up was not a wasn't a terrible pitch, wasn't like a flat out hanger. It was actually kind of a pretty good piece of hitting by Luis Robert Jr. So yeah, I mean, I would like to see Melton used in the most advantageous role. But the problem is when you do this, it's going to be one of those games where you're down 6-3 and it's the 4th inning. And it's like, is that getting the most out of Melton? You see what I'm saying? Like that's the other end of the sword there. So hard not to get excited about what we saw today. And also hard not to be concerned with something that we read, which we will get to after a word from our sponsors. The dog days of summer means it's time for the boys of summer to kick it into gear. And the best way to cash in on your baseball IQ is with DraftKings Sportsbook. Never bet on baseball before. It's simple. Pick a guy to go yard, hammer some live odds mid-game, or just ride with your squad and hope for the best. No spreadsheets, just vibes and dingers. Here's something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code FOUL. That is code FOUL for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
All right, coming back here. I hope you guys are watching on YouTube. Thank you if you are. Thank you wherever you are listening. Like, subscribe if you haven't already. But we're going to pull up a graphic here of as frank and I would say as stern as you will see AJ Hinch talk about a player, and that is him talking about one Tommy Kahnle. And we'll pull this up here so I can read it for everybody. This is AJ Hinch on Tommy Kahnle's struggles. Quote, "He doesn't get to pitch for free. The situation is going to dictate whether the innings are there for him. We try to get him in as low leverage or low pressure situations as possible so he can work on things, but we've got to compete on the field. This is not practice." Whew, I got to cool off. I think I was sweating reading that, Cody. Like that is some kind of statement by the old skipper there, man.
Yeah, AJ Hinch does not say things like this on accident. So this was purposeful. Whether the reasons behind it we can debate. The message itself, hard not to agree with based on Kahnle's recent performance. It's actually kind of crazy just how hard he has fallen off. But he's become kind of unusable. Let's look at just his last 11 games. He's allowed 15 earned runs. That's a 15.58 ERA. You could go all the way back to the end of June. Let's look at his last 17 games. His ERA is 14. He's allowed 22 earned runs in 13 and a third innings. That is not going to cut it. And I think that creates an awkward situation of what do you do? My hot take for the day, Kieran, should bring back the Phantom IL. MLB cracked down on this a couple years ago under the thought, like, it's not good for players. It's not fair for a team to just say, oh, you're injured, even though you're not. And that certainly makes a lot of sense. But, man, is there an advantage for players too? Because a few years ago, you could have said, Tommy, you're going to say your arm hurts. And you're going to go work with our pitching coaches. Maybe we'll have you do a couple outings in Toledo. And you'll still get paid. You'll still get service time. And we'll get you right back up here. And hopefully you'll be fixed. You can't really do that with Kahnle. So your options are throw him out here in low leverage games that become blowouts or close games that become not close games like we've seen. Let him continue to get pounded. We're at the point where is Tommy Kahnle going to finish the season on the roster? I mean, that's what we're looking at. He could get DFA'd because it's just been so bad, and the Tigers can't really afford this given the makeup of the rest of their bullpen. If Phantom IL were an option, you don't have to DFA him. Right now, I don't think AJ Hinch says this if this idea is not being batted around between AJ and between the front office. Tommy Kahnle's time with the Tigers could be nearing its end, which is not something I think any of us would have thought at the end of June when he was arguably the team's best reliever. Right now, he's looking like a guy who might not make it through the season unless there are some real corrections quick.
Which is, I mean, obviously I've watched what he's done and I seen, how it looks, but it's still crazy to me that whatever you unlocked for, half the season is you can't get that back. And that's from the player perspective and the front office, pitching lab, coaching perspective. Do you have somebody in your system and or you find on the waiver wire that you're going to be more confident that you could unlock something there?
Maybe a lot of guys would feel would pitch better than a 15 ERA.
Is he a Seawald placeholder?
I don't know if he's going to make it that far.
Wow. I mean, I'm not saying you're crazy.
I know that's harsh, but watching him the other day, it was reading that AJ Hinch quote. It's I don't know how much longer this can go on. Sawyer Gibson Long just came back, had himself a nice outing, so he could be a piece to the puzzle. We can talk about Cody Hoyer a little bit, who they sent out. His first couple outings weren't great, left some stuff over the middle, got pummeled, but has really good stuff, has really good extension. He could be bad and still not have a 15 ERA. You sent Chase Lee out, who was pretty good for you for a time. You have Jose Urquidy knocking on the door. I don't know what's going to happen with Alex Cobb, and I'm not holding my breath there, but he's fine. Made it up to Toledo. you have some guys who are options and more guys coming even before Paul Sewald on September 10th. So it's like, how long can you justify sticking with Kahnle? Do you think you can recapture the version of the changeup that made him so good? Or we've seen him try to throw the fastball a little bit. Hasn't really gone well so far. It's just as risky to keep him as it is to move on at this point.
Yeah, I mean that's a fair thought. I still maintain that like some of those options don't necessarily seem that great.
That's a good point. Yeah, the ceiling of Kahnle is maybe higher than any of those guys that we just listed off. So that's probably the argument for.
But you do owe it to yourself, like as an organization, like you owe it to yourself to wring out every single wrinkle, every single biometric data point, and all that stuff to try to get back to what Kahnle was doing before you make that decision. It can't just be, well, we're not using him in enough high leverage or medium leverage situations, and therefore it's a roster space. We'd rather have this guy. You see what I'm saying? Like, you better be damn sure that the tank is empty, and maybe it is, and maybe it is, and I would concede that point. I brought up, some people have brought this up. I think I brought it up a couple months ago. It's like the innings log for this guy, and the high leverage innings log for this guy was like not in a long time. Like, I think people were still wearing masks. Was like the last time he was doing like
before anyone wore a mask. 2019, he threw 61 in a third innings. He's not eclipsed. I mean, 46.2 innings this year is his highest since 2019. It's the third highest inning total of his entire career. He was used a lot in the first half of this season. He threw 42 and 2/3 last year, but he also made 9 appearances in the playoffs. So it was kind of a higher innings total than he was used to last year, a little bit, given he pitched into the World Series. And then he's just kind of ran into the ground the first half of this year. So, yeah, you talk about emptying the tank. Maybe that's the simplest explanation. He's been used a lot, and I'm not sure that inspires confidence that he's going to magically regain his stuff next week.
I don't think it's a coincidence that AJ Hinch says this, and then later on in the game after this quote, he puts Finnegan in the 8th inning, and brings.
He's not going to put Kahnle in the 8th inning.
No. But I'm saying, like, the best Kahnle thing was like that combination. You would go either way. Yeah. Now there's a new one, is what I'm saying. It's like, Finnegan's not just a 9th inning guy. Like, it's like, so.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So that is what I mean. So. You're certainly not putting him in there in that situation. That's not what I meant. Well, let me ask you this then, to kind of tie a bow on the Kahnle thing. We've mentioned that like the Scott Harris reputation for acquiring pitchers is way more muddied than perhaps initially thought, and maybe kind of trending toward a different direction. If they DFA him, let's just say in 2 weeks, whatever. Can't get anything else out of him. What is the grade for the Kahnle signing? Like, in terms of like the Scott Harris approach to bullpens and free agency and all that stuff? Because that's a complicated.
I think you have to take it at its whole, and its whole is going to be a 5.21 ERA in 46 innings, 9 saves. I don't know, a 5.2 ERA. That's like a D. That's a D.
But you also clearly do not get 20-something games above 500 without him.
I guess that's the problem with judging relievers solely based on ERA. So then the holds versus the meltdowns, I don't know. Maybe you can give it a C because he was pretty good for a couple months. You're right. That's a very tough one to grade. But I don't think the grade ends up being good anyway you cut it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we're going to take a quick break. And then afterward, we're going to talk about a player that maybe we ought to just kind of gauge the appreciation level for what he's doing here. But first, a word from our sponsors.
Hey, we love ripping slab packs on Arena Club. I just ripped one in a Ruby pack. Those are fancy schmancy, Kip. And I pulled a Matt Shaw 2023 Bowman Draft Aqua Lunar Crater Refractor card. And guess what? I got a little offer. You get the instant offer right away. Okay. So they're offering me $121. Sell it back, and then I can get a new slab pack. What do I do?
I want to see this thing. Hold on. Look at that. That's a beautiful card. You know what? I think that's a safe bet. I think it's going to make you a little bit of money. I think the more big league time he gets, I'd almost take the deal, though. I'm in it for the chase. I like opening more packs. I think that 121 can buy you a couple more slabs to open, and I think you keep chasing until you get something you really like. But that's the best part about it for me.
That's right. You can sell it back, $121, and then open up another slab pack. Use the code FOUL to receive 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase at arenaclub.com/foul.
All right, coming back here.
Hold on, I got a quick note for you, Kieran.
Okay.
Tommy Kahnle, as of today, still has a positive win probability added. I believe 1.40. That's somewhere around probably like the top 35 relief pitchers in baseball. So if you dig into the advanced metrics, there's still some evidence of the positive contributions he gave the team.
Yeah, tough sport. So I was thinking this. I've been actually wanting to broach this topic with you for about a week now, and given how this series started, I think it's an appropriate time to bring it up. And that's, Spencer Torkelson has kind of quietly been one of your more reliable bets. Like we've talked about the roller coaster of Riley Green. We know exactly even this, the best version of Javi Baez we've seen in the Tigers uniform. It still comes with that variance. McKinstry, like Torres, we'll talk about that later in the week. But like, there's actually been a pretty steady presence of Spencer Torkelson, and the month of July, which is a month that we're probably going to want to forget, if this season turns out to be, pretty cool, or, going to go back to a lot if they falter. He was as steady a guy in the lineup as they had. He was a 270 hitter. He had a 846 OPS, 6 of his home runs. And speaking of the home run thing, like, I don't want to overrate it, but it is kind of unique and cool that, he's going to get 30 home runs, 2 in, barring something unforeseen, 2 in 3 seasons. And he proved to be clutch in that situation on Monday with that 8th inning home run. And yeah, you see the splits right here. And June was his down month, but they obviously were able to ride that out. But it could have been a lot worse without Spencer Torkelson in the kind of middle of your lineup in the month of July. And then in August, he's still performing at like above his average clip, as the team is, not playing their best ball. So I think we ought to like appreciate what he's doing right now is kind of my point.
Yeah, 100%. It's kind of become so steady that, it's easy to maybe not give it its full due. Torque's just been really good all year. And when we were talking in April and May, like, will this continue or is this just a mirage? I was like, I don't know if he's going to keep playing at an MVP level, but all the batted ball data says if he kept doing what he was doing, he was going to have success. And that is exactly what has happened. He's leveled off a little bit from just the totally torrid start, but he's continued to hit for power. He's come out of all his mini droughts performing well. His on base percentage is still above 330, which I really love. He's even playing a little better in the field. He's grading out positively in terms of defensive runs saved. He's not perfect there, but he really is better than he was a couple of years ago. Like, there's a lot to like, and you can do a lot worse than this level of contribution from your first baseman. I think Torque deserves a lot of credit given what he's gone through, the scrutiny, all the times we talked about him on this podcast, and like, what do you do? This year, man, he's been rock solid, and he's a legit middle of the order bat right now.
Yeah, and in years past on this podcast, we had kind of compared him to Andrew Vaughn. And one of the things that we had said is that, like, well, could you imagine if Torque went to another organization and started tearing it up? Well, the White Sox are going through that right now. But even so, he has the home run in the 8th inning on Monday, and then today he sets up the only run of the game with that double with Kerry Carpenter on first base, and probably is an RBI, by the way, if Luis Robert doesn't cut that ball off. So I just wanted to bring up like the criticisms of Riley Green is he clutch, all that stuff. Well, Spencer Torkelson with 2 outs and runners in scoring position is a 288 hitter with an 892 OPS. No, you take that. He's got an 881 OPS in late and close games. And in high leverage period, he's a 271 hitter with an 890 OPS. Like he's actually one of your more clutch guys. Like that, like all the splits kind of back that up. And we saw a couple examples of that this week. So I just kind of think like, some people say like, should you trade Torque? And these are definitely some offseason topics that we will get to this winter. But all that is fine. But I just wanted to make sure that we realize like, okay, we got it. You're watching a pretty good ball player. You're watching a pretty good hitter. You're watching a guy who can make some impressive plays defensively. I actually have been impressed with his arm this year, Cody, more so than the pick action. And so yeah, like I just feel like if there's where would they be without this guy? I mean, the numbers say they would be worse offensively, specifically in clutch situations. If Spencer Torkelson was not the Spencer Torkelson that none of us saw coming. So just want to make note of that.
Yeah, and people are always asking me. I got asked my mailbag on The Athletic kind of about the long-term prognosis for Torkelson. I think that's hard, right? I think it's another one of those questions that is ultimately a little bit pointless.
Right.
Tigers aren't going to go and give him a huge contract extension because he's having a good year. I think you absolutely have to roll this guy into next year with like Torque's our first baseman. Yeah. And then you see what happens. He's under team control until I think 2028. Kind of get an extra year, I believe, because of the demotions that were that he experienced. He's a right-handed hitting first baseman. It's not a profile other teams value a lot. This idea that like, sell high on Torque in the offseason. I don't know. I don't know that there's going to be a team banging down your door to get Spencer Torkelson. Cole Keith's playing third. I don't know. I'll be fascinated to see what they do in the infield this winter, but I think Torque's your first baseman.
Yeah,
until circumstances dictate otherwise.
Right. And looking up, he's second to Pete Alonso in home runs among all first basemen in Major League Baseball.
Take that.
I mean, you'll take that. And by the way, that's also another thing to your point. Pete Alonso went through it in free agency, this past year. So
a great example. Yeah, Pete Alonso's not having a hard time. What's it going to be like for Torkelson? But he's been a more complete hitter, which is always what I wanted to see for Torque, more than the home run totals, like 330 OBP, 242 average, not killer, but you can live with that. He's taken his walks, a 10% walk rate, especially in this lineup. That is really important. He's a 2-WAR player right now, is going to finish the year if he continues to perform, probably is more than a 3-win first baseman. At first base, where there is still a lot of power, that doesn't make him like it probably is right at a borderline all-star, which is what he was this year. He's a borderline all-star who didn't get in the all-star game. It doesn't mean we have to like lose our minds over, oh my God, it's so amazing, but we should appreciate like this guy's become a really good baseball player. He's having a really good year.
Yeah, we're not here proclaiming him to be a franchise cornerstone. Had trouble getting that word out. But I think right now, for the trajectory of the franchise for the next several years, he's a franchise stabilizer. Like I think you kind of feel like you
can do this for the next few years. Yeah,
you have some level of production at first base that you don't have a hole there. Like honestly, Scott Harris thought coming into the season, which is why the moves were made. Real quick. I just wanted to say my piece about Luis Robert Jr. Like I mentioned, he cut off that ball there in the fourth inning on Torque's hit, and then he tracked down Wenzel Perez's would have been extra base hit, but ends up being a sac fly, difference in the game. He had the hit off Melton. That's why little things like that is why I'm like, surely there's some team that knows how to utilize his physical traits that could like get the most out of him. I don't know if the Tigers are that team, and I'm sure the White Sox are trying to, get the most out of him as an asset, whether it's on the field or in a trade. But that kind of thing is why I'm like, why not take a chance on an athlete like that at cost? And apparently the cost was too high because nobody.
Yeah, not sure you're ever really going to get him at cost. And if Scott Harris is not going to trade a mid-tier prospect for like a proven swing and miss closer, not sure he would trade cash considerations for Luis Robert.
Yeah, for sure. And now the White Sox, and it'll probably be in the abyss that is the White Sox here for moving forward. All right, Cody, anything else before we jet out of here?
No, that covers it. We will be back with another episode shortly. We'll cover Gleyber Torres. We'll cover some more storylines as we get closer and closer to the home stretch.
Absolutely. You can follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Cody Stavenhagen. I'm at Kieran _Steckley, pod page at Tiger Territory _TigerTerritoryShop.com to get your Tiger Territory merch to show everybody what a ball knower you are. Also, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Apple, Spotify. You guys know what to do. We appreciate all of you. So for Cody Stavenhagen, I'm Kieran Steckley. Everybody have a great day.